the recent announcement that the White House made regarding Tylenol.
The research and the announcement with HHS and the tie of Tylenol or acetaminophen to autism is what we're talking about.
I had a question about one of the longevity RX supplements. I was kind of curious about this combination, and
What Tara's talking about is MAG18 from Longevity RX. It's doing really well. We can't keep things in stock. It's wild.
What do you think of HHS releasing the changes to the vaccine recommendations for the MMR vaccine and COVID boosters?
So this is typically a combination vaccine, the MMRV vaccine, and they were saying split it. Why? Because there's studies that show it increased seizures in kids compared to spacing it out.
Have you heard of the witch switch that is trending for families during trick-or-treat season?
Really think there's some interesting conversations we can get out of this beyond what's up, and welcome to the Art of Being Well. My friends, we're giving away every Ask Me Anything episode, we give away free signed books, free telehealth consults with the team and I, and free supplement protocol stacks that we have at drwillcole.com, the Art of Being Well supplement line. For a chance to win, you can head on over to Apple Podcasts and rate and review The Art of Being Well there. Tell us what you love about the show. You could leave your Instagram handle in the Apple Podcast review itself, or take a screenshot of that review and message us on Instagram. Before we were having people go to my Instagram at Dr. Will Cole, but if you're going to submit it that way, go to at The Art of Being Well _ Just search The Art of Being Well on Instagram. It's a picture of me. You can't miss us.
Can't miss us.
You just would message your screenshot of your Apple Podcast review to there, or keep it simple, my friends. You can just leave your Instagram handle in the Apple Podcast review, which would be less steps for you all. But we want everybody to be represented, whatever's easier for you. The reason being is some people aren't comfortable with leaving their Instagram handle in the Apple Podcast review, which I get. So if you want that privacy, just message us privately on Instagram at the Art of Being Well page. And then we'll reach out to you. You can tell us what you want, either the supplement protocol or the telehealth consult or the signed book, and we'll send it out to you. All right. Good luck, my friends. And about twice a month, we have entire episodes devoted to your burning health questions. This is the latest Ask Me Anything episode. To help me out every AMA, we have two amazing clinical team members within the Functional Medicine Telehealth Center here, Andrea and Emily. What's up?
Hello.
Hey.
They're functional diagnostic nutrition practitioners. They work with me to get people healthy around the world and have done so for a long time. Long time.
We did the math the other day. It is a long
it's
time.
Years. To submit questions, go to speakpipe.com/Dr. Will Cole. Again, that's speakpipe.com/Dr. Will Cole. And just leave me a voice message. We'll get to as many of your burning health questions in these episodes. And they could be about your own health issues that you're looking for our take on it. Maybe a science research journal study that you saw that you want around health and nutrition that you want our perspective on, and understanding the context of it. Maybe it could be about a health trend you saw on social media that you wanted our hot take on it, hot or not take on it. And we get all types of questions. People send in amazing questions.
Yeah.
So we get to as many of them as we can in these questions. So in these episodes. So we can jump it off.
I got the first question from Ashlyn. So.
Hi, Dr. Will Cole. This is Ashlyn. I wanted to ask about the recent announcement that the White House made regarding Tylenol. So I realized that the studies that were done on Tylenol antihistamine was among pregnant women and autism and the risks there. So my question is, are we supposed to avoid all antihistamines? Also, better alternatives like Genexa's antihistamine, or was the study clearly only about Tylenol and we should avoid Tylenol at all costs as the brand? Please let me know. Hopefully this makes sense.
So I get what the essence of what she's saying. She used the word antihistamine. I think what we all know what she meant. We knew what she meant. She meant acetaminophen, NSAIDs, pain relievers.
Yeah.
This class of medication, they aren't antihistamines, which is a different class that lowers histamine levels in the body. The research and the announcement with HHS and the tie of Tylenol or acetaminophen to autism is what we're talking about. And then she mentioned Genexa's acetaminophen, which is not Tylenol. It's not the brand name Tylenol, but the active drug compound is the same, acetaminophen. And there's many generic acetaminophen out there, or different brands that have acetaminophen. And what's the research show? We talked about it at length in the last Ask Me Anything. So go back and to listen to the episode prior to this one, the last AMA, for a continued conversation on this. So I will take a different perspective on it based on her question, is that the studies were done on the active compound, the acetaminophen. It wasn't done on Tylenol. Now, some studies, these were two different main meta-analysis between Mount Sinai and Harvard, and they were a subset. They made up of multiple cohort studies and looking at hundreds of thousands of pregnancies. So they were not. Some of them have used Tylenol, but some used acetaminophen. So it really was sussing out the acetaminophen and what the mechanism of action was, or what was going on, or what was the increased risk of autism. And the recommendation was from HHS to avoid taking acetaminophen during pregnancy and find alternatives. But this was shocking to our system as a culture, because this was the one pain reliever that was acceptable and recommended for many years to pregnant women. So we got into, you guys got a little bit heated in that conversation, which I enjoyed.
It was not about the science. It was about how it was presented.
Yeah, we didn't disagree on the science.
We won't devolve that. Go back and listen to that. It's a really spicy take on that.
It's a glimpse into our pretty much daily life.
Yes,
I mean, we talk like we're actually sisters.
It's like the behind the scenes of patient meetings when we're working on cases. So it makes everyone sharper, right? Iron sharpens iron.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's how I perceive it. So what I would say is, yes, so this isn't about a demonization of Tylenol, the brand. This is about the active ingredient and even cleaner formulas like Genexa, who I know the Genexa guys are great.
Yeah,
I've known them for years. So that the medication itself still should, according to HHS and what we're saying here, what our advice would be too, based on this data, is be conservative with it. We've always said that based on the research. This is not new to us. It's new to the public at large, because we've never had an HHS that talks about these things that is research, but it's not necessarily convenient to industries. And it's like, okay, it's not black or white. We're not saying this is the causation of every. There's many people that listen that I know personally. They did not take acetaminophen during their pregnancy, but their child has autism. So it is an increased likelihood. And why? There are different animal studies to look at the mechanism of action. It wasn't these meta-analysis that was cited at that press conference with HHS, but there are different animal studies that showed acetaminophen's ability to increase oxidative stress, deplete glutathione, the master antioxidant, and raise inflammation basically in the body that can impact the body at a cellular neurodevelopmental level when done consistently over time. So to have a cautionary approach, I think, was the take from HHS. And the alternative, if you're looking at the active ingredient, isn't going to be moving from Tylenol to something else. It's going to be what's something other than acetaminophen that we can use. Yeah. So I think that's where natural pain relievers like curcumin or turmeric has its place. Things like acupuncture can have its place. We're talking about pregnancy, right?
Yeah.
Right. Things like homeopathy can have their place as well. Yeah. Things that are pregnancy safe.
Right.
Still have to discuss everything with your doctor, obviously. But that would be my take on this, and hopefully that we clarified some of the confusion around that. And look, that press conference was not just about acetaminophen. They also talked about other things as well. But what do you girls think?
Yeah, I think that brings good clarity. And I think that sometimes we can get hung up on the brand name stuff or what's being brought to attention, but it is the actual active ingredient, right? The one thing I do love about Genexa is obviously it does have cleaner ingredients, and they do have homeopathic versions of that too. Right now, not all of those are necessarily pregnancy safe. So, I think that that's something we have to be incredibly mindful with the homeopathic options is that can I use these herbal options or homeopathic options while I'm pregnant, right? Pregnant breastfeeding. Yeah. So just something you have to be mindful of and really talk with your provider about. But I do love that about Genex is they provide a cleaner option of acetaminophen, but they also have the homeopathic options too, right? Like they have arnica for pain relief. Again, so just something to also look into when you're looking for that. So
yeah, great point. Andrea?
I don't have much to add. I'm sorry that we talked about this so extensively last time, but I agree.
She's over it.
No, it's not that I'm it's not that I'm over it. It's just I think the point has been made.
She said what she said last episode,
Mic
guys.
Drop.
Well, that again was more of the delivery, not the science.
She's coming for you, Trump. She's coming for you.
No.
She's writing a letter as we speak.
Would never. And
Dear Mr. President.
Please, next time, let the scientists speak. That's all I have to say.
Or the doctors.
Or the doctors.
Or the secretaries of Health and Human Services.
Or, anybody. Yeah. But again, the intention was there of goodness, but that's all I got.
You're benevolent and you're assuming.
I'm assuming that the intentions were good. It just, delivery fell flat. It just makes my job harder sometimes. That's all. It's fine. We're good.
You made peace with him.
I did.
Yeah. Okay.
Wow. We're at peace.
Okay. Maybe just reach out to say, I forgive you. I forgive you. Forgiveness is good.
Yeah, sure.
It's good for the body. It's good for healing.
Forgiveness. Yeah. It's more than saying sorry.
Oh, yeah. Who sings that?
It's from a movie. If you know, you know. I actually don't even remember the name of the movie, so I'm feeling that was intrusive. Okay, it just came.
There's been a lot of that lately.
There was a lot.
We were in an airport the other day.
Oh, I'm saying.
No. I'm not even gonna go there.
We had a moment.
When Emily's a little tired, the intrusive thoughts come out. Mm-hmm. The veil between the brain and the outside world.
Yeah.
Anyway,
not a problem. It's fine.
Okay.
All right. Next question.
Moving on.
I feel like I'm just here.
All right. This question is from Tara.
Hey, Dr. Cole and team. This is Tara. I had a question about one of the longevity RX supplements that you were speaking about recently on the podcast. It's the MAG18, I believe it's called. And it has magnesium as well as the vitamin D. And I was just curious because I normally take my vitamin D in the morning. I kind of think of it as like the sunshine vitamin for morning. And I usually take my magnesium with my evening meal. And so I was kind of curious about this combination and also maybe when is best to take it. And just kind of your thinking behind it. So, all right, I'll be curious to hear your response. Thank you. Take care.
So what Tara's talking about is MAG18 from Longevity RX, which I formulated. It's now we soft launched. It's out in the world. It's doing really well. We can't keep things in stock. It's wild. And it was meant to be a soft launch, but we hard launched without even trying.
Yeah. That's because it's a good product.
Yeah. So it's a whole lineup. It's not just this MAG18, but these are whole food based supplements, a lot of regenerative organic ingredients, something that I'm really proud of. And it's all based on things that we talk about in the show and things that I see move the needle for telehealth patients. And MAG18, it is a whole food based magnesium supplement. We start with spirulina, which is one of the most nutrient dense foods on the planet. Mm-hmm. And then through enzymatic breakdown, we break down the magnesium that is from spirulina. So a whole food, not just a synthetic compound. It is actually from nature, which the body recognizes. And there's 18 different forms of magnesium. And I love the synergistic effect. It's not just one thing. It's working as the way that nature intended. So it's sort of almost a magnesium multivitamin in a way. Yeah. And magnesium is responsible for hundreds of different pathways. Our nervous system, our immune system, our cardiovascular system needs magnesium. And we run labs all day long. And I mean, how often is magnesium RBC low on labs?
97% of the time.
Yep.
Yeah. So common, not normal. And this is a great whole food way of bringing it up and optimizing it. And we paired it with vitamin D3 and vitamin K2, two different fat soluble vitamins, which are also extremely deficient. So I wanted something that was like easy, one serving, and got the top nutrient deficiencies that we see on telehealth patient labs, which is vitamin D3, vitamin K2, and magnesium in all these 18 different forms. So that they work synergistically. So yes, vitamin D is a sunshine vitamin, but there's really no compelling data to show that you have to take it in the morning, because it's not sunshine. It's not light.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the thing, is that I love her thinking on this.
I think it's very sweet. And if that's how she's getting like her
and
cadence with it.
And it's not entirely wrong, but the sleep-wake cycle and what sunlight's doing for us is so much more than just vitamin D. Vitamin D is a very important part of that conversation, but it is the way that the light itself is, and our relationship to light, and how that's impacting our sleep and wake cycle. So it's the vitamin D is really not something that you have to worry about having in the morning. It's not a stimulant in the sense of it's going to keep you awake at night. There's a lot of, and I would say also you can. Conversely, you can take magnesium during the day. Magnesium is not a sleeping pill where it's going to knock you out like a pharmaceutical sleeping drug.
It doesn't have like a sedative sort of mechanism.
It's a nervous system regulator. It's a balancer. It is a modulator of hundreds of different biochemical pathways. So I take it in the morning personally, but you can take it in the evening if you want that sort of relaxing effect on it.
I take it twice. I take it in the afternoon and
you
the
could
evening.
split it up too. Yeah. But there's actually studies that show that when you pair vitamin D3 with magnesium together synergistically, it increases energy levels. It reduces fatigue by 25% compared to taking them separately. So it has a sort of amplification effect on it. And a 2024 review showed enhanced effect not just on energy levels, but mood stabilization, skeletal health, lowered inflammation markers when paired together.
Right.
Because vitamin D3 is, every cell of your body has a vitamin D receptor site. It is almost like a hormone. It acts like a pro-hormone in the body. Vitamin K2 doesn't get enough attention, but it also helps to regulate inflammation, which so does magnesium, and so does vitamin D3. So they're really great to work together like an
They're counterparts.
Yeah, an entourage effect, a cascade of synergistic function. Vitamin D3 helps with calcium absorption, but vitamin K2 helps with telling calcium where to go, so you're not calcifying in areas you don't want to have calcified. It's typically a vitamin K2 deficiency when you're talking about people that have heart attacks, stroke issues, have cardiometabolic diseases. It's a D3 and a K2 problem and a magnesium problem. But with magnesium, it acts as a cofactor, and one of the ways it acts as a cofactor, it helps to activate vitamin D3.
Right.
So it makes your vitamin D3 more bioavailable to the body. Because how many people do we know take a regular old vitamin D3? We run labs, they're still low.
Yeah. It may bump it slightly, but it's
they're
never
not in the optimal range of like 60 to 80, which is where we want
they
it.
can be literally 50 points too low, even supplementing.
Yeah. So this sort of whole food plus the pairing of the three helps to enhance the bioavailability, the usability, if you will, of all of them. So it is, that's the reasoning by it. And the timing doesn't really matter. Consistency matters.
Yes.
So take it in the morning, take it in the evening. Now, let me be clear. There's certain types of magnesium that in higher doses for some people can make you more tired. That is true, but it's still not a sedative in that way. You'll just may notice. But this is MAG18 is not. Because it's synergistic, because it's 18 different forms.
Yeah, it's not having that
You're
same
not
impact.
macro dosing one type of magnesium.
Right.
It has more of a modulating, balancing effect, not a suppressing effect.
And I think I love that it's a blend. We often get this question, and I take magnesium citrate or glycinate. Why this? And that blend, because of that synergistic effect that you're talking about, even with the blend of magnesium, is really supportive to the body as a whole.
Yeah, and think about this. That's what humans would have consumed for eons, because they were not taking a magnesium citrate or a magnesium glycinate in nature. They were eating nutrient dense foods. They had nutrient density in their life, and they would have gotten all these 18 different forms, not just one form in a macro dose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Great.
I mean, we've seen this in so many different circumstances, and this is why we created this that way. So just to kind of even touch on her point of calling it the sunshine vitamin, which I do think is really, it's like a sweet, again, way, like for her cadence of when to take her supplements. But we have a patient, I still think about him. It cracks me up to this day. When people are like, I've been supplementing with my vitamin D, or no, not supplementing. Like, I get in the sun. I'm in the sun all the time. And we had a patient that was a professional windsurfer. So this person was spending 11 months of the year on the water in the sun, and his vitamin D was 11 when we originally tested it. And I just think to myself, this was not a sunshine problem. This was a vitamin deficiency issue and an absorption issue. And having these other cofactors that accompany this nutrient that help with the absorption, help with the bioavailability, getting these things where they need to go and be where they need to be. I love what we've created, and I stand behind it. And to your point too, circadian rhythm, light is important too for sleep and all the things that we know that we're working with on someone. So taking vitamin D at night is not going to keep you awake.
It's just looking at the body as a whole. We often talk about that in labs. We're not here just to treat the marker. We want to look at it as a whole, and how can we support these things that do need to be adjusted.
And if you do want to take a higher dose of a magnesium threonate or a magnesium glycinate, then take it in the evening. That's fine.
Yeah, right.
But it's so you could do the MAG18 in the morning and take a higher dose of magnesium in the evening. Some people do that, and some people see great success with that. I'm not against, like, we have the magnesium too in the Art of Being Well supplement line. I love that. You could take that in the evening. But I like this whole food component for the day.
And I think some people, this is just how dysregulated we are as a society, that taking a supplement that makes your body feel more calm, people associate that with being sleepy. I'm like, no, you're just not on fight or flight response.
It's true.
So it's not that you're actually drowsy. It's that this is what your body feels like in a state of calm. And sometimes awareness isn't there. And I think that that's important as well.
Yeah, because we're so used to being hypervigilant all the time.
Your body is used to being hypervigilant. So the second we give your body what it needs to feel more calm, people are like, I got so tired. I'm like, well, were you actually drowsy? They're like, well, no, I just felt like more relaxed. I'm like, that was kind of the point. Like, so I think it's interesting just to see how people respond.
For sure.
All right, Dr. Cole, next question. This one's from Emily. I think Emily gave this to me because she didn't want to say Emily sent in a question about
I love
Emily.
that name.
Oh my gosh. This is Emily A.
Hi, Dr. Cole and friends. I love your podcast. I'm so grateful to you all for taking the time to do it. I consider you guys my doctors because you've helped me so much more than any doctors I've ever seen in person.
So sweet.
My question today is about the CBS gene mutation. It took me years to figure out that I had this problem. In hindsight, I've had it my whole life, but the symptoms I get, including anxiety, heart palpitations, boils, and brain symptoms that made me unable to drive for years, really got much worse following a severe viral infection from about 10 years ago. It's a miserable situation because absolutely everything has sulfur in it. Not only am I missing out on so many delicious foods, but traveling is nearly impossible. With curry paste, rubs and seasonings, I have to make 100% of my food from scratch. Everyone thinks I'm a hypochondriac. I'm the world's worst dinner party guest. It's awful. The thing is, while I know I've always struggled with high sulfur foods, it hasn't always been this extreme. There's almost no information about this disorder online that I can find, and what I can find is conflicting. I wonder if there's a way to support what I know I'll never have eggs or beans or broccoli again, but can I get to a point where I can at least comfortably eat a meat stick again, or a slice of gluten and dairy-free pizza or something when I'm out with my friends? Any advice or suggestions about where to look for more information or support would be greatly appreciated. I've had to figure this out completely on my own, and I feel very lost and alone. Thank you guys for listening. You're always amazing. I look forward to the future podcasts. Thanks a lot.
It's really sweet. And I'm sorry she's going through that, honestly.
Yeah.
My heart goes out to you, anybody that's struggling like this. And it impacts your quality of life. And you're not feeling how you want to feel. And you can be isolated, like she's saying. Like she's having to make everything from scratch. She can't go out and necessarily eat with her friends and enjoy things the way that she wants to. So there's a lack of resilience in her life. And it's kind of infringing on her quality of life in many ways. And for people that are listening out there, I don't want to create sort of unnecessary restriction. There's nothing wrong with these foods that she's talking about for everybody. Certainly, these are whole foods, and that's part of her point, is that these are healthy foods. She's not wanting to go and eat fast food. She's struggling with things like broccoli and eggs and dairy and beans and these sort of average things that people can consume with no issue. Okay, so let's talk about it. The CBS gene is part of a collection of genes that are responsible for methylation. You've heard us talk about methylation a lot on the podcast. Even the VDR gene we didn't get into, but like vitamin D receptor genes, these are things that we looked. So people like Andrea was talking about, that windsurfer, double gene variant of VDR gene slows down absorption of vitamin D, so you need to dose higher based on these gene variants. MTHFR, everybody's mostly heard about that, right? It's a gene that makes an enzyme that helps to recycle down homocysteine, this inflammation marker. Homocysteine is, or let's say it this way, is methylation is a lot more complex than just MTHFR, which is what a lot of people have heard about. It's a lot more than that. So we look at all the genes that are interplaying together as part of this biochemical superhighway known as methylation, that's responsible for detoxification, hormone production, building of tissue and amino acid production. It's this constant donating of what are called methyl groups, these carbon-hydrogen groups. And many people have zero gene variants in certain areas. That would be like the traffic intersection is moving, no problem. Someone can have a heterozygous gene variant or a single gene variant, and that is akin to like a yellow light at a traffic intersection. Traffic is moving, but maybe a bit slower because of the impending stop sign or red light, right? And then, well, I guess it would be red light, right? The stop sign doesn't randomly show up. Follow me on my analogy. And a homozygous gene variant or a double gene variant, these are called SNPs, SNP for single and double, single nucleotide polymorphism. So this is the double are like proverbial stop signs. Traffic is still moving, but it's inhibited even more than the yellow light. So the more yellow lights and stop signs, the more hetero and homozygous gene variants, you're going to potentially have a backup of whatever that gene that makes an enzyme is responsible for, because that enzyme isn't being made in the way that it should be made. So you have a deficiency of that enzyme. Look, many people have these gene variants and they don't even know. They have no symptoms. So CBS gene variant, let's assume she has a double gene variant, that impacts the transsulfuration pathway, which impacts homocysteine again, and its conversion into cystathionine. What that means on a practical level is that your body can have an accumulation of these inflammatory byproducts, specifically on the CBS pathway. You can have excess because of the transsulfuration pathway, an excess of sulfites and ammonia. So those are the 2 points that what she's talking about there. And elevated levels of sulfites, these sulfur compounds that are toxic in higher levels, and ammonia. So when she has sulfur-rich foods like eggs and dairy, onions, garlic, broccoli, cauliflower, beans, she has a flare-up of these symptoms like digestive problems, migraines, skin issues. It's a lot of gut, brain, skin issues, right? Anxiety, things like that, brain fog. Now, what does the science show? The science shows it's only about 10 to 20% of people that have the CBS gene variant have symptoms.
Right.
So that we're talking about 80 to 90% of people that have CBS gene variants that don't have any considerable symptoms. They may have some minor things they're not noticing, but they're not like, it's not showing up in a significant way like hers. So that shows you something really important. Genetics aren't the total picture. They're just a piece of the puzzle.
Right.
Genetics loads the gun, but epigenetics pulls the trigger. So my question is, what is pulling that trigger?
Yeah. That was my first thought.
So that doesn't mean you're never going to change that gene variant. And you may always have to be mindful about limiting those foods. But something is pulling that proverbial trigger.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where health history, labs, context matters around here.
Yeah.
Because the gene is like that bucket size. And the more hetero and homozygous gene variants you have, it's like that bucket size is shrinking. And what you fill up that bucket with is things like stress, trauma, environmental toxins, stealth infections, unhealthy gut, nutrient deficiencies, inflammatory foods. So if someone has a smaller bucket, that bucket's going to overflow a lot easier. So you can't change your bucket size, but you can change what you put in it. And our job is to understand the bucket size, look at genetics as a piece of the puzzle. It's about a third of the puzzle, but 2/3 is epigenetics. It's the environmental lifestyle stuff that we fill up that bucket with. So we have to empty that bucket to get wiggle room, to get resilience. So my goal is to be building resilience. And my mind are on the case. And obviously there's limitations to this. I don't have her full health history. But comparing her to similar cases I've seen over the years is that you can build a lot of resilience, a lot of wiggle room over time. Certainly not a quick fix. But I don't see these foods have to be assumed to be forever. And even she said they used to be fun.
I was just going to say, that was the biggest part of that whole entire thing to me, was she says it wasn't always this bad.
Right.
And it was like, okay,
and then at
so
that point,
what
the gene
changed?
hasn't changed. The
Right.
gene hasn't
What
changed.
has. Yeah.
So we would want to look at what are the things that filling up that metaphorical bucket. And it's not going to be one thing. And some people have bigger issues than others. Some people have a lot of factors. Some people have maybe one or two factors. But we want to look at the physiological and the mind-body component of what's overwhelming that stop sign.
100%.
What's overwhelming that intersection that's causing a traffic jam of sulfites and ammonia. And when you alleviate that traffic jam, when you kind of decrease the amount of cars on the street, so to speak, then you don't have an overwhelm on the system. So there's some low-hanging fruits that I think most people with CBS genes could do and consider trying, is supplementing with molybdenum, which is a trace mineral that can help with basically enhancing the sulfite to sulfate conversion. You're basically deactivating, in a way, the sulfite production. So a molybdenum supplementation within reason can be appropriate. And I would want to look at a lot of labs.
Right. If you're taking burden off the body, then likely that's going to support those pathways working a lot better too. So. Yeah.
So some thoughts there. We would look at that on labs. We would look at the genetics and epigenetics and the interplay between the two. So I would reach out to us if you want to.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, if there's any call to action here, Emily, you already said, Dr. Cole, you consider him your doctor, right? So let us do that part for you, of walk you through. I mean, you would qualify great for a consultation, so we can just really investigate a little bit deeper here.
Yeah, that's literally what I mean. As soon as she said that, I'm like, this has not been a lifelong issue. This is, she has noticed symptoms, but they've apparently gotten progressively worse. So I immediately start thinking of the environmental components, the stress components, like what is she around that could be contributing to this? Methylation, as you know, is something we can look at on labs with the homocysteine and B vitamins and all the things that are associated with it. And if she has an impairment on a CBS gene, are there other genes that we have to consider? So is it the confluence or the compilation of all these things that is creating the issue as well, and not just one in particular gene? And then I want to see an organic oats test on this.
That's a good point.
I want to see.
Because that's what you're going to see is, Andrea hit the nail on the head. So running an oat test would be something that we would do here. So let's.
With organic acids, these are the byproduct of these particular pathogens and or chemicals. And so for us, it's going to be like, how many times do we have someone that comes to us and they're like, it's oxalates. I know it's oxalates. And then we get it back in the oats test. It's like the oxalic acid or glycolic acid is elevated, but it's because it's Aspergillus penicillium or Candida. So it's like these environmental factors. What she's saying
is it's either mold or a yeast or fungal issue that's causing an excess.
The food is not the problem. It might exacerbate
it's compounding, it's exacerbating the problem, but it's not the problem. It's that you're not eating too much of those foods that's creating the symptom. They're exacerbated because of an underlying issue that's already there.
Right.
It's the bucket.
Right.
It's like the bucket was getting full. You just didn't know it. So this last drop of this food. So for someone that's telling me that she has a CBS gene mutation, I want to look at those organic acids. I want to see what's filling the bucket.
I was going to say, I love that kind of test because it basically is showing us the areas that we need to kind of zone in on to, right? Of what's being most impacted, right? Is it mitochondria, neurotransmitter function, GI tract, right? So it's a really cool test.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It narrows it down, like Emily said. So you're not shooting in the dark. You really know, the area that needs more support.
Yeah. And we'll look at all the other associated labs too.
Because it's not just about those.
Yeah,
tests.
because that's the problem is if you're impeded upon your body's clearance of like you have a really poor detox, we may not even catch everything in the urine. So we want to look at inflammatory markers in the blood. We want to look at immune function. We want to look at gut function. So yeah, Emily, please come to us. I'm very interested in your case, and I feel like oh my gosh.
Not you.
Oh wait, yeah.
We can help
You're here
you.
already.
All right.
My middle name does start with an A. You don't know that it wasn't me.
I heard her voice.
Yeah, you're right. It wasn't. But I love you anyways, Emily. All right. Onward. I don't know what is happening.
You just wanted to say her name like one last time.
One last time. All right. Dr. Cole, what do you think of HHS releasing the changes to the vaccine recommendations for the MMR vaccine and COVID boosters?
So this is also this was lost in
the hubbub?
Yes, hubbub. That's the technical term for it, I think.
Yeah.
It was an official hubbub. That's right. That's right. It was a presidential hubbub. So the press conference, it was lost, right? Because they did mention the MMRV vaccine and like the pacing of it and spacing things out. And then, so they followed up with a few weeks later or so, they came out with another announcement of the recommendation is from HHS to across the board for everybody to split the varicella vaccine from the MMR, the measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine. So this is typically a combination vaccine, the MMRV vaccine, and they were saying split it. Why? Because there's studies that show it increased seizures in kids compared to spacing it out. The reality is most people, most kids, most pediatricians already spaced them out. They already spaced the V from the MMR. So, but there are still some people that did combine because it was convenient. It was convenient to, from a product standpoint, to like sort of sell it to the person. You didn't have to go to the doctor just twice. You could just do it once. But there were studies that show that there was an increased risk. It wasn't a huge increased risk, according to studies that are referenced, but it was a modest increased risk of seizures in kids. So why not have that cautionary approach of saying spacing things out as a whole? And I think this really has to be a part of a larger conversation of what is the schedule and what does a spacing out alternative look like, and giving parents a path A, a path B, a path C, or maybe just a path A and path B. Maybe there's a current one, and then maybe there's a spaced out alternative schedule. I would love if HHS provided that, to give parents a route. Choose your own schedule based on your individual case. So as a parent, and between the parent and the doctor, they could decide for their kids' health history, family health history, what is the different routes you can take. But we're not there yet. Look, they get pushback when just talking about splitting the varicella from the MMR. But I don't know why, because it was already done for a lot of people. But that just shows you the amount of sort of hyperbolic contrarianism that can happen here. Even something that was pretty basic was met with such resistance. And I think they just really don't have ears to hear. And because it's coming from people that they don't like, and when I say they, I mean all the people in the media and influencers on social media and the medical system at large, really push back on literally everything that HHS says. So the other aspect of the recommendations that they gave was the COVID boosters being based on bioindividuality, that it would be based on individual person working with their doctor on what their risk benefit profile looked like. Because coming out of the pandemic, it was COVID boosters ad infinitum. It was like perpetual COVID boosters were recommended, and they basically are saying, hey, look, we're out of the pandemic now. We know more research now. We can talk about the quiet parts out loud, that some of these populations, like young men getting myocarditis from vaccines, increased risk of it, we may want to look at the benefits versus the risk here.
Yeah.
When you have a very low risk of dying from COVID and a potential risk of getting myocarditis, have informed consent. And they were just making consent informed again. And there was these sort of dark ages of science, which I talked to Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, who's the NIH director. Go back and listen to the episode with him on the podcast. I got to talk with him, Dr. Bhattacharya, and Secretary Kennedy on the art of being well. He calls it, Jay Bhattacharya, brilliant man, as from 2020 to 2024, as the dark ages of science, where it was like there was just a suspension of informed consent. There was a suspension of diversity of thought and people having choice when it came to their health. And I'm glad that they're removing these sort of draconian mandates and shaming people for making a personal decision between them and their doctor.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Cool.
No take on it.
Yeah. I mean, I just like the conversation of bioindividuality. Like whether or not you want to vaccinate or not, we should still be advocating for bioindividuality with any medical decision that we're making. We should understand the risk versus reward.
Yeah. Well said.
I agree. We talked about this at a pretty decent length. I think it was last year in one of the podcast episodes about our opinion about you have the right to choose what you want to do with your body, but I think you can't make that choice thoughtfully if you don't have all the information.
Well, especially if it doesn't decrease spread. Like that was the one argument that they could use, is that during a pandemic, which is a very unique situation, that if a vaccine decreases spread from a public health standpoint, they can make that claim. But you can't say that with the mRNA COVID vaccines.
No.
You could say that for other vaccines, but you can't say it for this.
Right.
And so I think that this is an individual decision to know, do I want this supposed protection or not? Are there other ways to protect my health?
Right.
Yeah.
And for some people, they may choose, I want the protection from the vaccine, and it does provide me some protection. And I would say it doesn't decrease transmission. It decreases severity. You can make, there's solid data to show that. So if you're high risk and it decreases severity, you may want to get that. And you can make that choice for yourself.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Last question, Dr. Cole. This was another one that was sent in via email. So it says, "Hi, Dr. Cole. Have you heard of the witch switch that is trending for families during trick-or-treat season? Would love to know your thoughts on this trend."
So the Halloween at the time of recording is right around the corner, but even when you're listening to this later on, that's for next year. The concept of the switch witch. Did I say it right? Switch witch?
Yes.
Yeah, switch. So it's a play on words. Halloween, witches, and talking about switching and making it fun for kids to talk about. Okay, the switch witch is going to take your candy and you're going to get something that's not sugary, processed candy instead. So it could be toys, it could be a healthier alternative, it could be video games, or whatever, a trip with your family, a memory, whatever experience that you want. My wife, in prepping for this, because our kids are older, 19 and 16, my wife said, "I think I invented Switch Witch." That's what she said. She invented it. We didn't call it that, but we called it nothing. We called it, you could go and partake and have fun with your friends and dress up and do the whole trick or treat thing. But we had a bartering system. We had a conversion rate of the candy to things that they would actually like that wasn't tons of artificial dyes, high sugar, junk food. And our kids loved it. They loved going and hanging out with the friends and doing all of that. They loved collecting the candy. And they also loved it as a currency, that freaking pillowcase of candy. They loved it as a currency to say I could go and get whatever they wanted. And that was the alternative. The Apple News article released an article about this, and I really think there's some interesting conversations we can get out of this beyond the concept of Switch Witch, but just the overcorrection I think that can happen in some families when it comes to health and food and people's kids' relationship with food and the shaming or demonization of food that can happen. We always made it fun. We always made it positive. We didn't make it, we were judging people. We weren't making it to be like, this was bad or you're bad if you have it. But we're not talking about a couple pieces of candy. We're talking about pillowcases. We're talking about basically suitcases.
Months and months worth of candy.
Yeah. So there are many years where they had some of the candy, but they didn't need the whole barrel of candy.
Exactly.
So you could, honestly, you could say, like some article talked about donating it or giving away. I would throw that junk away. Like, just throw it away. Who needs that stuff? I can't think of a case where this is like you'd give it to someone in need. Nobody's in need of this.
Sugar.
Nobody's in need of type 2 diabetes. But it's like, having a moderate approach makes sense. And you can make that personal decision for your family. But I think, hey, my kids wanted some pieces, but they weren't going to overdo it. But honestly, we live in such a time where there's so many great alternatives for candy, but they're still sweet. They still have sugar in them, but they don't have the artificial food dyes. They don't have all the other ingredients that are completely, problematic. They are better for you versions, pragmatically. I'm a pragmatist when it comes to this. So you may have some of the conventional candy. You can make that decision, but it's not a lot. And then you have these better for you versions that may be sweetened with fruit juice or fruit snacks or something else that our kids like just as much, if not more, that are better for you versions, or something that's not food based. That's something, a toy
All
that
I
they
can
wanted.
think about are giggles. Sour giggles.
Sour giggles are Andrea's favorite.
Sour giggles.
Year round.
Yeah. So you love those. I do
like
love
every
those.
day is Halloween. But some family surveys showed in this article is that it reduced sugar intake. The switch concept reduced sugar intake by 70 to 80% based on family surveys.
That's
preventing
amazing.
those post-Halloween and post-holiday crashes as a whole.
Mood issues,
behavioral
hyperactive.
issues.
Yeah.
Behavioral, mood issues. And
that's awesome.
Cutting overall, another study looked at cut overall sugar by 40% while preserving the Halloween fun the kids have and teaching them moderation. Teaching them not this sort of extreme all or nothing orthorexia that I think a lot of parents can unintentionally pass on to their kids, where they're just they have so much zealotry towards something that, like, I get it. We hear ya. We know about the food industry. We do this for a living. But I think this sort of extreme hyperbolic polarization, I think, isn't great for kids from a relationship with food standpoint. And it does not teach them living in a world of making informed choices, proactive choices, conscious choices. You're just putting them in this sort of
they're going to encounter
controlled bubble.
They're going to encounter these foods. They're going to see them at school. They're going to see them in their friends' lunches. They're going to see them at their friends' houses. So the more you demonize something, one, it can make it more appealing, especially to children.
It's like the rebound.
So
it's alluring.
You made this alluring.
Yeah.
You made this like this.
Yeah. So I think leading by example is primary. And if you're not going to sit down and eat a pillowcase of food, then maybe your kids won't either. And having that conversation about what you can switch and what you can keep. I do believe Amber was the first witch switch, because I learned from you about this and I was like, ooh, I'm going to do that. And there were candy that was like, okay, if you bring me this, I'll give you the better version of it that you like. That's this. And then there were a certain amount of pieces that they could give me for money, or they could save that and it could be like an experience. Like we could go bowling or we could go to the movies or something like that, and we would switch it out. So I did steal that from Amber. I do believe this was her idea.
I think there's a lot of healthy, crunchy moms around the world that are like, oh, I should have branded that. Yeah.
The money is a dangerous one, though, because that conversion rate is
especially for an entrepreneurial kid like my son and your son too.
No. I put a limit. There was an absolute
my son's like talking about inflation and we can't do the same thing as last year.
Yes, it's so funny.
You guys are funny.
You have this momless kids. So where you're in the thick of it right now.
I am, and I actually was just telling you this recently that I feel like I am getting into the season. My kids are 9, 5, and I have a 2-year-old, so she doesn't care that much, the 2-year-old. But I am getting to the season where they are starting to challenge me a little bit more about, we eat gluten-free at home, and we're not allergic, right? So they're like, well, my son's like, why do I have to eat gluten-free? I'm not allergic. It doesn't make me sick, right? So we're navigating just that food concept in general. Why do I have to make switches? And so I think that the Halloween thing has tended to be kind of tough for me, because even with the switches, sometimes they don't fully understand, well, why do I have to switch, right? And there's been years where we've just said, well, why don't we just go do something as a family? You can still get a treat, but instead of going trick-or-treating, why don't we go do something fun that you guys want to do, right? So you could even do things like that. But I do think there's balance, and I don't want to just say it's, evil. You can't have that altogether. So I think it's something that I found to be a little bit tougher with this age that they're at. Yeah. But I think the biggest thing for me is honestly finding things that they love to do, treats that they love that I still feel comfortable with. And honestly, giving grace for the times where it's just okay, that's not the best thing, but you know what? It happens. We're at a birthday party or we're at something that's a holiday event like this, and just saying, you know what, let's enjoy it. And we're not going to make it a daily habit. Right. And so I think it's helpful to give them room to tell you how they feel, and just understand that they can't, my daughter who's 5, she can't fully comprehend it right now. I'm training her, but I also have to give her room to be I really want this.
Yeah. I think the lesson is the parenting moment is regulation and self-regulation and moderation. You have to make that age appropriate, of course.
Right.
But I think that's a muscle that you're going to want to have them flex.
Yes.
And hindsight's 2020. We all could have done I could have done so much better, and this is what I do for a living. So give yourself grace as parents. It's we're all learning, we're all figuring things out as we go. So just stressing about this as a parent, having shame on yourself as a parent is not
it's not worth it.
No, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
And look, when you, like Maya Angelou said, when you know better, you do better. We're figuring things out. Give yourself some grace, baby.
And just taking it a day at a time. Right now, they just going to do something fun with us as a family. But I know as my son's getting older, he's making friends. He's probably going to want to go trick-or-treating or go do something with them. And we're going to take it as it comes. And, I want my kids to be independent. I want them to try to figure things out too. And so that's my hope at the end of the day, is they start making decisions that they feel are best too. And
and I think if you keep a balanced approach, it will carry. Because I'm right in between you two with ages of 17 and 14. And some years they don't even want to go trick-or-treating. They want to dress up and hang out with their friends, but they're just because they enjoy what they have. They like what they have at home. They don't feel this need to consume. And it's just because we had a balanced approach to it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and every kid's different too. So I think being intuitive as a parent to know your kid, and especially, look, this applies to everybody. I don't want to be too gender-based on this, but I am extra sensitive to this about girls. Just from a cultural standpoint, I do think that girls have a lot of messages out there in the world when it comes to food, and you don't want to be the source, whether it's Halloween or another birthday party, like you
Easter,
said, or something like that.
anything,
just keep in mind there, and don't overcorrect one way or the other. There is a middle way, and I think the middle way is saying this is checking with your body. Eating something that doesn't love you back is not restrictive. It's self-respect, but that doesn't mean you can't have things that you like, but learn moderation. Learn these things where it's I'm not going to feel like crap the next day.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Is that the last one?
That's it.
All right, guys. If you want to learn more about our clinical work, the Telehealth Center, lots of free resources. You can type in Halloween. You could type in Christmas. You can have anything. We've written articles over the years about
tons and tons of them.
Tons, yeah. So we'll see you next time.